That works. All right, guys, we're just getting set up here. I'm trying to get the camera squared away. I think this is causing, maybe not a very bad shadow. The shadows that I'm getting are off my standard light. Okay. All right, well, today's stream is going to be a little different than previous streams. Maybe not too much different. All right, guys. Oh, my goodness, where are we at? Okay, perfect. How's everybody doing? Good morning. It is a little bit after 11 o'clock on Wednesday. This is Wargaming Wednesday. This is what we do is we talk about wargaming, miniatures, pretty much anything, really. Anything that revolves around gaming, really. Mostly with our focus on historical miniature games, but we can also talk about fantasy. We can talk about a variety of other different things. Okay, so last week at the end of the stream, we talked about what do we talk about? Last week we talked about, or we showed off the Opal Maltier kit, and we started assembling on that. I do want to show the finished product on that so that so you can see where that came from. It is on eBay for another few hours because right at the end of the stream I finished it, and probably by 6 o'clock or something like that I finished it, and I put it up on the stream. And when not on the stream, when I put it up on eBay, and then so this is almost a week later. So let me get it. Let me take it. Let me show you it. And then we're going to talk about those paint cans that you see on the table. Oh, I got some sniffles, apparently. Oh, goodness. Look at that glare. Okay, well, that's the angle of the camera, so we'll get that fixed. How about I pull this down? Here, let's turn this on. Or not. There we go. And then no, I don't know if you guys know where that came from. That's probably before your time. There we go. That's a pretty good focus, I suppose. Yeah, so this was the old Warlord Opal Maltier kit that I finished last week. It came out pretty good. I painted the driver after I'd put him in the cab. So there's not really a whole lot of detail on him, but that's fine. I basically did the field gray uniform and flesh, and that was pretty much it, you know. And that's because you can't really see him very well anyway. I also left the clear plastic off so that I could spray it. I sprayed it with a German gray, which is very close to black, actually. It's like a super close German gray from, I think it's Vallejo sprays. And then I wanted to do kind of a winter look to him. So what I did was, from a distance, I sprayed him with some off-white. It's not white. It's actually like a heirloom white or something like that. And I sprayed him. And after the first spray, I realized it was too much white. In hindsight, I'm thinking I should have had a stencil, made a stencil out of cardstock or something, and then interposed that between the spray, and then the spray would have been more, it still would have been a splatter because that's what I was wanting, but it would have been more of a focused splatter because I personally don't own a airbrush. It's been something I've been thinking about getting, but I'm very comfortable with brush painting everything that I do. And the only thing I use spray for is usually primer. So, and then I primed this with the desert yellow. This actually comes off, right? So, and then the inside is still the German gray. So if you, as an owner of this model, you want to drive it around like this, you can. Or if you prefer to have the top on, you could do that as well. I think it came out pretty good. It already has a bid, so if you're interested in getting it, you need to jump in on there. The last time I looked, it was up to $60. So, yeah, I recommend it. Now this time, I did not put the Vallejo mud. I have this, I guess I could put it right here, and you can't barely see it like that. But okay, there you go. Weathering effects. Here it is. Thick Mud by Vallejo. European mud. I normally put this on my tanks. That like around the tracks, and on half tracks I'd put it around the wheel well and stuff like that, kind of give it that, you know, weather effect and what have you. But when this one I wanted to do with like a snowy effect, so I actually considered taking some of my modeling snow and sprinkling it on like the tops of the wheel well, the doorstep, maybe on the tracks a little bit. But I decided against it. I thought that it would take away from the model, so I didn't bother doing that. Sometimes I'll take a chance, and sometimes I won't. And in this case, I decided that it wasn't going to be worth it to take that chance. All right, so you've seen that guy. Now, the figures that I finished since last week, right? I was thinking about showing you guys some figures that I finished since last week. Was the Opal, obviously, and I finished some skeletons, and I finished my Lancers. Yeah, let's show you the Dutch Lancers that I just finished. Along with their movement tray. Yeah, so these guys I just finished a few nights ago, and I think they turned out pretty good. I decided to do them in dress uniform and not their campaign dress. This is a live stream, so if you're interested in chatting me up, you can drop a chat in the comments, or I mean in the chat, and I will see that. Maybe not right away, but if I do see it, then we'll comment on it. Gave the musician white and not the light blue that I've seen some people do. There are conflicting uniform patterns out there. I'm still waiting for their pennants and their flag. So as soon as I get those in from GMB, then we'll be good. Right. Okay. Done with that. Let's put that up. And also I finished some skeletons. I'm not going to show you every skeleton. I'm just grabbing a couple from each unit. There we go. There's 3 units of 10. We got the archer units. We got the swordsman unit. And then we have a spearman unit. So these are Oathmark miniatures. They come 30 in a box, and so units are typically 10 to 20 in Oathmark. So I just basically did 10 figure 3 different units. I did an archery unit because it pretty much comes with these 3 unit types worth of weapons. So you get spears. There's a couple of varieties of what the spears look like. And then there's archers. You get some firing and some loading. And then you have swordsmen. And there's a few hand axes as well, or battle axes, however you want to look at it. But I decided not to do any axemen. Yeah, so what do you guys think of these guys? I think these guys turned out pretty good. Now, these shields on the spearmen, I actually went into my Macedonian Greek starter set and dug up some old warlord shields, and I decided to put a couple of hoplite shields on there to make them kind of like Greek skeletons. You know what I mean? Alrighty. Alright, and so let's go ahead and put those away. Now these are also for sale on the store. Yeah, so that's what I did in 1 week. I did the 30 skeletons. Hopefully you can hear me from over here. I don't know if you can or not. But I did the 30 skeletons and the Dutch Lancers and finished the opal. I don't think I did anything else. Let me look around my figures up here. Okay, I think I did those Americans a while back. Yeah. Okay. Now I got my Warlord order in, obviously, because that's where the opal came out of. But they actually sent me a... They sent me... Let's get this camera back where I had it. Right. We'll focus that in a bit. Yeah, I ordered a stone bridge, right? Because as you know, my Waterloo setup, I'm working on Quatre Bras first, and I need there we go. I need a couple of bridges to really make it feel comfortable, because the bridges that I have are either too big or they're on a base that's too big. I've considered making my own bridges, which I might wind up having to do, but I decided to order the stone bridge on the Warlords site just to see. It's a plastic kit. It should be fairly easy to put together and paint, and it's always good to have a variety of different style bridges, especially for like role playing and various genres like either medievals or World War II or whatever. It's always good to have bridges. Okay, this is apple cinnamon. Yeah. Lipton. Yeah, my wife basically forced me at gunpoint to buy a kettle, right? I had always taken cups, coffee cups like this one, filled it with water, put it in the microwave, heated the water up, and then either put hot chocolate in there or tea bags or whatever, instant coffee, whatever I would normally do. And she said that I even have a Keurig, but I don't like putting just straight water through a Keurig. It just doesn't taste right. So I've been doing that. Not a whole lot, maybe 1 or 2 cups a night, which I guess that is a lot. But she said you should get a kettle, and then just plug it in, fill it with water, turn it on, and a couple minutes later you'll have boiling water. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. There's no possible way that's how that works. Well, I recommend it. I've even considered doing a video on my channel explaining how awesome it is, because I'll put water in there, 1.7 liters, and it's what brand is it? I have the box over there somewhere. It's basically an electric kettle. There's a base that provides the electricity. That's what plugs in. And then the kettle sits on top of that, and there's like a little electronic connection. And as soon as you turn it on, it starts boiling. I mean, it's like, I don't know how it does it, but it like starts going like within a couple of minutes, I've got boiling water. And then, when you lift it up off of the base plate or whatever, it turns off. And so then you pour it out and put it back on, or if you want to turn it back on, you can. When it starts boiling pretty heavily, like, then it automatically turns itself off. When the water gets too low, it turns itself off. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Okay, I am going to need a tissue. So I'm going to use a paper towel. I got snuffles, or it's probably that paint actually. Okay. So let's, before I pull those guys in, because I have some NASA 2nd and 3rd Battalion of the 2nd Regiment are sitting outside. Primer is drying. The primer is probably already dry. We got a little bit of humidity out here today. We're expecting the rain to come in from the hurricane that's hitting the Gulf, probably on Tuesday. So in about a week, or is it past? I don't even remember. But we didn't get a whole lot of rain. But it's like really overcast and humidity is really high, and there has been some drizzling. So I mean, we're up in Tennessee, so we're not going to get hit by a hurricane. But the hurricanes that hit, if they go the right direction, they usually bring a lot of rain to us. So I've got that sitting outside and drying. It's probably going to dry any second now anyway. I'm going to bring them in a minute. But a couple of things I wanted to talk about was I bought front rank NASA, right? They come in a pack of 24 figures. So you get your 4 Grenadiers, you get your 4 Voltigears, and then you get the rest of them in center company, except for the command stands, which you normally get a couple of officers, a couple of drummers, and in this case it comes with a couple of standard bearers. Well, I didn't think it needed I don't think it needs 2 standard bearers. So I've been going through some research and stuff, and I see that they usually only carry 1 standard. But because I don't have additional NASA figures just laying around, I decided I was going to go ahead and use these NASA figures. But I thought to myself, well, first of all, I'm going to take a drummer, a standard bearer, and an officer and put it on a base with a Joe, right? And I'm going to do that twice. So there's going to be 2 bases. The reason why I wanted to do that was if I ever needed to make 2 units, then I would have 2 standard, two bases of command that I could pull one of them off, pull a couple of figures from a couple of different units, and then boom, we've got maybe a 3rd or a 4th unit. They'd be smaller units. So that's the plan behind that. I used to do that with my Napoleon's battles. The way there's a book, and I probably could break it out one day. It got me thinking critically. It's like a critical thinker book for wargaming, because it talks about basing, it talks about painting, unit organization, and they're talking about where to put the figures, how many figures and what kind of figures. It's like it really is my first instruction manual on how to do miniature figures. Now this is the old 1st edition Avalon Hill Napoleon's battles. It came with like a separate little green book, had nothing to do with any of the rules. Well, it did, maybe a little bit, but it was a separate green book that was all about the hobby. And yeah, I learned so much from that book. But in that book, it talks about always make your units full strength when you're assembling them. And in that game, a full strength unit was 24 figures, same as Black Powder, except those were brigades, not battalions. So basically every standard could be the regimental flag, because it wasn't broke down by battalion, it was brigades. So they say always make a full battalion, 24, because not every unit in the game is 24 figures. So if you decide to play Scenario X and you need a unit that's 24, well, good, you got it. If you need a unit that's only 20, then just pull one of the bases off and leave it in the tub, right? And you'll have a unit of 20. If you need a unit of 16, then just pull a couple of bases off. So you'll always have those available. But in the rare occasion that a unit needed to be 28, which they did have some large brigades, take one of those bases that you pulled from one of those other battalions or other brigades, because not every one of them is going to be 24. There's going to be a few that are 20 or even 16. And in that case, just take one of those extra bases and put it on your 28 figure bases or brigades. And so that mentality is kind of always stuck with me, even with Black Powder, because they have smaller units and they have large units as well, but you don't really see that very often in the scenarios, or they're very, in my case, I'm specifically designing those battalions to be those either large or small battalions. I'm not making generic, like French, right? I'm not making just generic French and then putting bases together to form battalions. I could do that. The only thing that I would need to do would be to make a ton of the command bases, the one with the standard, and have a different standard for each regiment or what have you, and then just put their line troops, just pull them from one battalion, put them in another, because they're all pretty much going to look the same except for the standard bearer. Now, there are a few units that I specifically did that had various uniforms just to give them a little variety, because I didn't want everybody to be in a trench coat. Okay, so before I go grab those NASA guys and pull them in at the last minute, I want to share with you. In the past, I had been using this Rust-Oleum Hunter Green for like my chasseurs, my line lancers, my Jaegers for various units. I've been using this Hunter Green. This Hunter Green matches exactly to this Hunter Green. This is Folk Art Hunter Green. So I would prime it, and then I would water this down and kind of just use it as a wash to kind of fill in any of the gaps that I might have missed with the spray, because sometimes the spray doesn't like to get behind the backpacks or, between the ammo pouches and the belts and stuff like that. So by taking a thinned down Folk Art Hunter Green, it really, and plus this is flat, and this is as you can see, this is satin, so this has got a little bit of a shine to it, but when I put this on there, it'll just flatten everything down and it looks great. Well, I ordered this just recently and got it in. It's called Now, right? It's fast drying, blah, blah, blah. But if you look very closely, okay, it says Hunter's Green, obviously. But if you look real closely, it says it's a product of Krylon. Okay, so this is a Krylon spray, and it looks like it's going to be kind of maybe a little glossy. I don't know, because all of their Now sprays say they're flat, or I guess matte, or maybe even satin. but their caps are all shiny, so I'm a little confused about that. That's why I just used this today, and we're going to see, I'm going to bring it in and we're going to take a look to see exactly what color it is, because this is the first time using this. And when I was spraying it, now I did a couple of coats. The first coat, it came out, it looked kind of flat or matte, but I don't know if it had dried yet, and it was before I did my second coat. But the first coat was kind of light, like this compared to this, right? You can see how that's kind of like a darker green and that's kind of a lighter green. This is honest. This comes out pretty dark like this, right? Where this looked like it was a little bit lighter, but we're going to see that here in just a minute when I go grab those figures. Let's go do that right now. I'll be right back. All right. Okay, they feel, oh, even the base. Okay, this feels dry. Okay. All right, so let me put my eyeballs on. So I can see what I'm looking at. Yeah, it seems like it's okay. Yeah, because you can see, I don't know if you can see this, but when you've got this sitting on a board and you're hitting it with a spray, there's no way for you to get up underneath the arms or, you know, under the cap or anything like that when you're spraying, like under the arm where the musket is. You just can't get up under there, and that's where this comes in, is I get up in there and do the thing. Now I partially wanted to do this, the lighter green, because it is a lighter green. Because I found that once I apply my wash to it, draws it down anyway. Plus, when I do this, it will get into the creases in the corners, and it'll act as kind of a hunter green wash, and it'll get dark in the crevices, and I kind of wanted that. I wanted the lighter green, and that looks fairly flat to me. It's not shiny like this, so I'm very happy with the way these came out, you know. Yeah, no, and it didn't ruin. Okay, now this guy's a little shiny. Yeah, he might not be fully dry. Yeah, this looks wet. Okay, gonna let it dry a little bit more before I take it on. Some of it looks wet, some of it doesn't. You know, and I love they're not bear skins. They're, what are they, Busbies? They call them something else. But I got 2 stands of those. Something I also noticed was in my reference material, it calls this regiment a light regiment. But in other areas, it just calls it a line regiment. I don't know if it's supposed to be a light unit or not. I'm going to have to do a little bit more research on that. But I think it's really just uniformed up like a light unit. Okay, the Voltigeurs with their shoot, what do you call them? Epaulets. They have shako covers on and no plume exposed. There's supposed to be the Voltigeurs had a tall, like British looking plume, where the center companies had the French double plume. Okay, these guys still look like they're shako covers, just with the plumes exposed. Okay, that's going to be good. And the ears are nice and detailed. There's a lot of detail on these guys. I am happy. Okay, so now I bought 2 different packs. I bought the one where they were advancing, which I guess would be like this, where they have their shoulder arms, right? Where they're just holding their muskets up. And then I have them where they're charging, which has the muskets down at like a bayonet thrust level. He's port arms, looks like. This guy looks like he's charging. But so I got a pack full of these and a pack full of these. And I decided to mix the 2 packs. And I'm going to put these guys, the guys with their muskets straight up and down, I'm going to put them in the back rank. And I'm going to put these guys that are charging in the front rank. That's my plan anyway, right? Okay, so this is something I wanted to get at. We were talking about those standard bearers, right? And how many standard bearers should be in a NASA unit. Well, I've got these GMB NASA flags. These look really good. I love my GMB flags. I've got a couple of, I got one set of war flag as well. I think I'm going to use those on the these guys are Usagan, so I think I'm going to use them on the orange regiment. Okay, I keep jumping around. But I went ahead and did something unusual for the standards because I know that I'm only going to be flying 1 flag, but I still have a second standard bearer. So what I did was I made a false flag. Yeah, you know, for those of you that know what a false flag is. But I made a false flag. I cut it out of just straight up printer paper or whatever. And I wrapped it around the standard. And I made it actually just a little bit smaller. Like, I didn't make it this long. I made it about 1.5, like 1.5. And that way when I folded it over and wrapped, it'd be a little bit thinner than actually having 2 pieces of paper folded all the way around. Which I still think was probably a little bit too much. Maybe just a hair too much. I probably should have cut off another 10% or so. But I wrapped it as tight as I could. And that was extremely hard because the standard, I'm using the metal spears from Warlord, and what I thought about doing was taking the paper and then putting the spear at the end of the paper and then wrapping it around. Well, that was impossible. So what I wound up doing was folding a little piece of the paper and then putting the spear in there and folding it completely around, and then started rolling it. Well, it didn't want to roll. It didn't want to stick to the spear. So I even used super glue and it still wouldn't stick. So I had to pre-roll the paper and then glue it on there and then wrap it. It took me a while. It took me probably an hour to do 2 of these. And I finally got them wrapped and glued down nice and tight. But that wasn't what I wanted to do. What I wanted to do was put a bag over the flag, like a protective flag case. Like you've seen how flags have been cased so that because of either weather or some regiments in the war wouldn't actually fly the flag. They would just carry the standard with the flag on it wrapped. And so what I did was I made a couple, well, actually, let me rephrase that. The first piece, the one I just wrapped, was instead of the full 30 millimeters, it was only 25 millimeters. So it was a little bit smaller than that. And I wrapped it. Great. And then I made another piece, much smaller, maybe only that long, that was 30 millimeters in length. So that and it only went around once. And once it went around that one time, the tips were exposed, or, they went over they went 30 millimeters, went over the 25 millimeter inner flag, the false flag. And then what I did was I pinched the top and bottom of the flag case, because like a flag case would have a drawstring on the top and the bottom where you would pull it nice and tight so that it would hold the flag, right? So what I did was I pinched the top and the bottom to make it look like somebody had drawn it tight, right? Okay. And I don't know if you can see that, but that's what these are. These, and you can see that top and bottom got pinched, and that is going to be a flag in a flag case. Now I just have to look up to see what color the Nassau's flag cases were, but my guess is it's going to be black or dark brown, but we'll check. And then there's the one standard here that would fly the actual Nassau flag, right? Okay. And I'm using the pre-cut 50 millimeter spears from Warlord. I found that those are actually pretty good on most of my standards. And then there's the second one that I did, right? So I got a cased flag, and these guys are just going to will be my second standard base. Maybe this guy and this guy will be on the second base, where maybe this guy and this guy will be on the primary base. And of course, each battalion came with two drummers. Okay, you can see that the spray didn't get up underneath there, so I'm going to have to wash it. Okay, so I hear the mailman going by. I don't really anticipate anything today. I do have a second Warlord order. I've got a Flags of War order, and I've got a GMB order. But other than that, I really don't have anything else coming in. I have a customer sending me some Russian airborne. And as soon as those come in, I'm going to paint them up for him. He communicated with me on eBay, which is perfect. And came up with an idea. So I'm going to let these guys dry a little bit more. I mean, I only did it about 15 minutes before we went live. So, and with the humidity outside, some of these might not be fully dry. But yeah, that's a good flat color. I'm actually very happy with that. Okay, there's something I'm going to take my eyes off. I'm going to put my different set of eyes on. I want to pull up my website, my YouTube site, and I want to see how the survey is doing that we started last week. I noticed a lot of you guys jumped in on that survey right away to help me out, and I really appreciate it. Believe it, I really appreciate that, guys. Let's see. Trying to get to my dashboard. I am there. Okay. Oh, that's good. You probably can see that. Okay, so that looks good. Okay, so we're not talking about, here we go, latest post. Okay, skirmish games. Okay, I'm going to go to the community tab. Okay, so we have 3 polls going right now, right? We got the one wanting to know if you do skirmish games or if you do rank and file. And I got a pretty, like a 40 to 60 rank and file over skirmish games. So that was actually kind of interesting for me. And then I went with 2 more polls, a skirmish poll and a rank and file poll. And look at Napoleonics. Napoleonics and American War of Independence, I lumped them together. Maybe I need to separate that. YouTube only lets me put 5 topics in there, just letting you know. That's why I've got a total of 10, because I made 2 polls. Trick the system, right? Okay, so maybe I need to break AWI away, but I'm anticipating your skirmish is Napoleonics, just based on the rank and file poll shows American War of Independence is very low. That's odd, because I sell a lot of American War of Independence. It's funny. But Napoleonics looks like it's leading the pack by a huge amount. 55%. The next one is American Civil War and Medievals at 16% each. Even together, that's only like 32. Ancients and American War of Independence is kind of, these are like really popular in my book, but apparently the world doesn't play that or want to play that. Okay. That's with 31 votes. 31 is not a great sample size. What do they say? At least get 200. But on my channel, a 31 is pretty good, right? And every vote counts to me. 55%, that's more than half. Okay, that's probably the 16 people out of 31, 16 probably voted for Napoleonics. Now up here I got 39 votes. It looks like sci-fi fantasy is a little bit bigger than World War II. Interesting. I did do some Oathmark skeletons, if you're interested. But if this is supposed to be sci-fi and not fantasy, maybe I need to do some Gates of Antares figures. I got a bunch of them ready to go, primed. They've been sitting there for almost a year. I got some Gar, and I got some Concord, and what's the other one? Algorans. Yeah, I've got all those. Maybe I should paint those up, put them on the channel or on the store, and just see if they sell. Yeah, maybe I should do that. And that would be a skirmish. But rank and file, maybe I need to do more Napoleonics, because it seems like every time I do any Napoleonics, I'm always doing it for me, for my Quatre Bras, right? Or Waterloo project. But maybe I could intermix some Napoleonics that, like, I'll do a unit for myself and then I'll do a unit for the store or something like that, and just see how well those do. Maybe I'll do that. Down here. Okay. That's interesting. And rank and file was 50. Okay, so that's kind of evened out a little bit more. It was in the 60s, I think. But it's 55-45 with 33 votes. For some reason, it's on here twice. But yeah, I really appreciate your voting on this. 33 votes seems like about as many people as I'm going to get to vote. I got 39 on this one. Sci-fi and fantasy, but Napoleonics AWA, Napoleonic skirmish, Napoleonics. Maybe I need to do something, because I know there's some like Chosen Men and other skirmish Napoleonic rules out there, and plus there's skirmish AWI. So maybe I'll start another poll, which will break down the fantasy, sci-fi, and the Napoleonics AWI, because make it more specific, make it a little bit more specific. This one is pretty damn specific. Okay. All right, so I just want to share something with you. It's a little off topic. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. I can get rid of the polls and that. Okay. This is a comment that I got on one of my videos not too long ago. A few months ago probably, but it just kind of hit me today when I was priming these guys. As you saw, the board that I have them on, right? I'm holding this board in my hand and I'm spraying them with a spray. About half of the spray, not half the spray, some of the spray, because it'll come out as a spray, but every now and then there will be like a thick drop or something, and it'll go boop right on my arm, right? And my arm had about 15 or 20 of these little droplets. Okay, it had these droplets on my arm, and I had to clean them off, because I didn't want to have paint like constantly on my hands. And I use this mechanics mechanic soap. It's kind of like Comet, you know. It's like very gritty, and I was able to clean all that off. But while I was doing that, it reminded me of a comment that I got on one of my old videos talking about how my fingernails were dirty, right? I laughed it off, you know, and I'm still laughing it off. It's funny to me. But I don't sit on my ass all day, right? I'm working. I'm doing things. I'm either outside. I got tools in my hand. I'm cutting wood. I'm cutting bases. I'm painting. I'm in here painting. I'm assembling models. I had glue all over me last night. Mainly because of those damn flags. But right. So and then I get the urge to do a video, and I go, okay, let's do a video. So then I whip out the camera and I just start recording. I usually 99% of the time, and just like right now, I do not script anything. I don't have any I'm not reading a script on the wall. I'm not cut editing anything out. I'm not like, well, that's not true. Sometimes I'll go on a rant and I will talk about something completely off topic. And then I'll be like, why did I talk about all that? Let me just cut all that out. And so then I'll cut all that out. But normally I'll just talk, or I'll talk about these figures, or I'll talk about painting, or we'll talk about whatever, and I'll edit it out, edit down for content or whatever. But my hands might be dirty, and oh, it's funny. I realize that there are hand models out there that, because what I'll be doing is I'll have a figure and I'll be getting it up really close and go, you know, and you'll see my dirty fingernail right there, you know, that's some green paint. But yeah, and maybe there'll be some dirt on my fingernail, maybe some grease or some glue or some paint or something. And if that bothers you, then you don't need to be watching my videos. You know, just leave the channel, because you're going to get a lot more of that. Let me go even deeper. If that bothers you, you need to seek help. You need to sit back, take 30 minutes alone, and think about your life. Because that okay. Let me talk about me a little bit. My philosophy, my habits or whatever. If I watch videos, I watch YouTube like every day, probably a lot more than I should, but I don't watch it for entertainment. And that's not true. I do watch it for entertainment. There's a couple, 3, 4 people that I'll watch for entertainment. And whenever they post a video, I will tune them in to enjoy myself. But normally, what I'm watching on YouTube is educational, right? So normally, I'm learning about history, or I'm learning about painting techniques or modeling techniques, or I'm learning about politics, you know, or learning the news, because I watch the news on YouTube. I don't watch it on my TV. I watch The Bachelorette on TV, but Um, I would never, ever, 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 never tell someone that their fingernails were dirty. Ever. On a YouTube video, especially one where they're showing me how to paint or build a model or build terrain or anything like that. If their hands had some dirt on it, the thought process that would go through my head is, there's somebody that works for a living. There's somebody that gets off his ass and does things. It's not, it's, I don't know if it's red versus blue, if that's really a thing, but I feel that there are so many people out there that just want to, not just want to, they weren't raised well. They weren't raised with certain values or certain, or maybe their parents didn't have these values. So they think it's okay to say these things. Or maybe, this is even worse, I think they believe that it's incumbent upon them to say it. Like, I see it, I need to say it. Where my parents said, if you don't have anything good to say, don't say anything at all. Which I don't subscribe to that thought. I feel like if I am going to say something, it's because I feel like there was a mistake made, or I feel like I can provide some help. Not, ha, he's got dirty hands, or like right now, I'm not shaved. I can imagine someone getting on my channel saying, "Man, you're so lazy you don't even shave." I would never say that. That might be his personal style. That might be his personal. That might be the way he likes to look, or whatever. It's just sad, that there's people out there that need to make a comment like that. I don't think I'm going to be doing any painting on this video because I'm waiting for these guys here to dry. They're probably good enough for me to do a wash, but I'm going to let them dry, and I'm going to work on them later this afternoon. I've decided I'm only going to do the 2 battalions. I thought about pulling out my 3 Dutch-Belgian battalions and then doing all 3 of those instead of these guys, right? I thought about doing it, and then I thought to myself, I don't like doing 3 battalions at once. Maybe I could just do 2 of them. And then I thought to myself, well, in that case, I would have a 3rd battalion still in my drawer. And would I be motivated to go back and do that 3rd battalion? Or, there's a lot of things that went through my head. And I said, you know what? F it. I'm just going to do these 2 battalions of the 2nd Regiment. It'll finish the 2nd Regiment. And then I could always do the 1st Regiment, which is only 1 more battalion. Of the Nassau, that is. I do need to do some generals, I realized, because Lefevre and one of his brigades, well, both of his brigade generals I need to do, plus Cook I need to do. And I don't think I'm going to redo Best. I'm just going to use the Not Vivian. Not Vinky. Is it Vinky? Yeah, I'm just going to use him as best. But Cook I need to do. I got the 2 brigade commanders. That's not a problem. But Cook, the guard division general, I need to do, as well as the guard cavalry brigade commanders I need to do, as well as the guard division general. So I need to do those generals. Plus I have the hey, Mr. Stan. Hey, good luck, man. Whatever you're doing today, have fun. Make it fun. There's I don't know. I got so much to do. I've got a year if I'm planning on doing some of these battles at next year's NashCon. I've got almost a year, just under a year, 11 months, and yeah, and I got remember I got those 2 boxes of Waterloo starter sets in. I went through and started counting up my French figures. It looks like I can do about 4 or 5 battalions. So I should be able to finish out Quatre Bras. Should be no problem. And then with that, I should be able to do at least part of Waterloo. I should be able to do all of Waterloo if I break these divisions down as proxies for 1st Corps and 2nd Corps, and then maybe 6th Corps. Dragoons. Okay, I've got 2 Perry Dragoon units, right, in plastic. And then I've got a metal front rank Dragoon unit. These are line Dragoons, just your regular Dragoons. Plus I've got the Empress Dragoons, which the Empress Dragoons, I can use them as a proxy if I need. And then I only need 1 other Dragoon unit. Let's just say front rank. So I have these 2 line Dragoon units that, I mean, I could put them together and we could sell them, right? Or I don't know. I'm going to have to look into the future in future battles and see if I'm going to need more Dragoons, maybe on the far right flank or something. If I need more Dragoons, then I'll just keep them. But if I don't need more Dragoons, then apparently there's a desire or a need on my store for Napoleonics, so I might do them for the Napoleonics. Yeah, so I ordered too many Dragoons. Because I ordered the Perry Dragoons knowing I needed 2, and then when I was on my my front rank, I said, you know what, I'm going to order some Dragoons. I've got the Empress Dragoons. All I need is 1 more to balance it out, and totally forgot about my Perry order. So, so I got too many Dragoons. I got like British Household Cavalry. Well, they're not at Quatre Bras, but they are at Waterloo, obviously. Just like my Scots Greys, I've got them made, even though they're not going to be at Quatre Bras. Now, I read the Quatre Bras reenactment on the Warlord in the Warlord rulebook, and they had all kinds of units there that weren't there. They had guard cavalry and, you know, heavies and stuff like that. And I'm like, those guys weren't at Quatre Bras. I don't know. They were just having fun. I got that farm that I haven't built yet. I think I'm going to build it very specifically onto a base. I think make it a set piece. I'm not sure, but I think I'm going to do that. I'm just kind of looking. I got the 3 militias. I got the extra NASA. Oh, I got the second light KGL. I got a KGL second light. They've been sitting in there for a long time because I don't need them for Quatre Bras, right? But I do need them for a Waterloo, but I'm just letting them sit. I've got extra British Guards sitting up there that need to be painted. They're primed. I've got yeah, those 2 boxes of Waterloo. Whenever you get those 2 boxes, whenever you get a Waterloo starter, you get 12 chasseurs and a British cannon. Well, I don't need any more British cannons, and I don't need any more French chasseurs. So I immediately added those chasseur sprues to my store. So if you are looking for 2 or 3 units of chasseurs, you could find them by sprue on my store. And those cannons, since I don't need them, when I paint the KGL horse artillery, which I need to do, I'll just go ahead and paint those other 2 British cannons up at the same time and then put them up on eBay. Looks like my British cannons sold pretty quickly. My French cannons are still up there. So if you're interested in some French artillery, it's on eBay. A lot of a lot of 100 Years Wars up there. Some American infantry, World War II. I still have like a Churchill and a Panzer IV on there. I still have the Opel Blitz Maltier on there. It'll be gone tonight if you don't bid on it because somebody else has already bid on it. Okay, let's talk about SPQR. I'm going to finish this video out talking about my ancients. Okay, there's 2 ancient games that I play right now, not counting medievals. Medievals is a kind of a different thing. But I play 2 ancient games right now. I play Hail Caesar and SPQR. SPQR is a skirmish game. You only need about 30 models and you've got an entire army. So I took my Hail Caesar armies, my Macedonians, my Germans, my Celts, my Greeks, and my Romans, and I debased them off of their Hail Caesar bases. And I started basing them on 20 millimeter squares with magnets. And then I could take those and I could mount them on a Hail Caesar base, magnetized, and then play Hail Caesar with these. Or if I wanted, I could pluck them off of their Hail Caesar base and I could play SPQR with them. I'm torn because, like my Greeks specifically, I mounted them on 25 millimeter round bases for SPQR, and then I magnetized them to be put into hoplite units and played like that. And I considered doing my other battalions like that when I made a conscious decision to go with 20 millimeter squares so they would fit on the base a lot better. But like my Macedonians, spearmen, I've got like 100 plus. I'm never going to play with 100 plus SPQR Macedonian pikemen on the field. That's just not going to happen. So I thought that I would make a few models, like 30 plus, or design some armies. You know, I might do it on camera. Maybe next week, actually. We'll go through and pick some armies, like SPQR armies, like my Romans, and design the army or my figure count on that army. Maybe a little extra here and there. I like to have variety, switch and swap, reinforcements, replacements, things like that. But then anything additionally that I make after that, I just go ahead and mount them on Hail Caesar bases. I've also considered just making two armies, just making the Roman army, SPQR, round bases, put it off to the side, and then everything else just make Hail Caesar. But as you probably know, I'm trying to cut corners and just trying to use them double duty, right? Hail Caesar or SPQR. So that's something I'll think about this week. And then what we'll do is we'll discuss it more in detail next week. I'll have the SPQR rulebook out. I'll have some figures, and we'll go through and try to figure out exactly what I want to do with my Hail Caesar and SPQR. Now, my Roman army, I'm not doing a Caesarian Roman army. I am using the Caesarian stats, point values, and things like that for the SPQR, but actually it's a Republican Roman army with the Principes, Velites, Triarii, etc., etc. So I'll have to kind of go through the rules, and because in SPQR they give you two Roman factions. They give you the Caesarian Roman faction, but they also give you the Imperial Roman faction. And Imperial is two legionary. They're like every troop is exactly the same, but Caesarians were kind of... Caesar was still in the Republic, so he's still Republican Roman. It's just that they had the Marian reforms, and so they did kind of go to a standardized like uniform and stuff like that. But you know, a spear is a spear, and a sword is a sword, and a chainmail is chainmail. So I just got to kind of figure out how I want to do that. Does anybody have any questions for me? My tea is starting to get a little cool. Now, as you know, I did some Oathmark figures. You can see that at the beginning of the video. Plus, if you go to my eBay store, you can see that I've got some Oathmark skeletons on there. I have another pack of Oathmark elves that I got from Warlord as well. They're not painted. They're still in the box. I thought about getting the Oathmark heavy dwarves and also the human skirmishers or warriors or whatever they're called, just to get a variety of different fantasy ones. But I've got the North Star snake men of the archipelago. I don't know where they're at, but I got the snake men as well. That was a gift because I was doing the Chult a couple of years back. I was doing tools, and there were the snake men monsters in my dungeon, and so a friend of mine gave me his box of snake men. He figured that I'd put them together and paint them so that we could use them, but I never did. But my point is, I think I might order a rules set of Oathmark, because I don't have Oathmark the rules, so that I can put together the units according to army lists and not just haphazard randomness. Because right now I just took that box of skeletons. I actually had to jump online and find the rules, not the rules, but find out how to organize armies. And basically what I understand is a normal unit is anywhere between 10 and 20 models. And also my understanding is they're individually based, because when you take a casualty, you pull a model off. Now, I was reading a forum somewhere, and I wanted to reach through the camera or reach through the monitor and just slap this guy. But he made a comment about when you take a casualty, you take a model off, and then he says, I thought we were past that. Implying that he doesn't play Warhammer anymore. Because Warhammer Fantasy, you would have a block of units, like 20 models or whatever, and as you take casualties, you would pull models off, right? When I was playing Napoleon's Battles, you would have a basis of 4 figures, and as you take casualties, you mark the individual figures that they're dead, and then when 4 of them are killed, you pull the base off. Those are all 20 years ago, right? And nowadays with Warlord games, and I'm just using them as an example, you don't, and there are probably a bunch of other games out there as well, you don't pull the figures off when they die. You mark the unit with casualties, a lot like Napoleon's Battles, but you don't ever pull a figure off the table. The units are in blocks, and they never change. They're always in those blocks. And so he's implying that he doesn't play games anymore where you pull figures off. And that's still a very popular mechanic, pulling figures off. I mean, just look at bolt action. When a guy dies, you pull him off. You don't leave him in the squad, so whatever. And so, so 10 to 20 figures, but that is just somebody's comments. I mean, I might be wrong, I considered just doing groups of 5. First of all, it'll make it less expensive. Plus, it'll mean I can sell to more people. And then I could probably vary them a little bit more, because they did come with some hand axes. I could have made a unit of hand axes, but I decided, nope, let's stick to the 10 because I don't know the rules. So I might actually grab a copy of the rules just so that I can understand how to make units. And it might be fun. It might be a fun game. Because I have Warlords of Erewhon, which is a Warlord Games fantasy game, it just doesn't jive for me. I look at Warlords of Erewhon, and there's just too many fiddly bits in it. It's not a straightforward just fantasy slug. You got all these like weird rules that I understand them, and I grasp the rules. I understand the rules, but they're unnecessary rules. And I don't like games that have rules in them just for the sake of making the book thicker. And Warlords of Erewhon feels that way. So I'm actually looking for another I don't want to play Warhammer because that game is dead to me. So I want to find another fantasy game. Now, I thought about Kings of War. I heard that was a good game. But looking at the Kings of War rules and figures, and it just seems like it's another Warhammer. So I didn't want to play Warhammer 2.0. So that's why I went to Warlords of Erewhon. But if Oathmark is a viable option, then maybe that's what I'll build armies for and paint for. So yeah, I think I'm gonna get an Oathmark rules. I might have some of those rules in by next week. So topic of next week is we're going to go over some rule sets. That's what I'm planning on doing. Just going over some rule sets, talking about them, talking about army lists, talking about figure count, fiddly rules, unnecessary rules, stuff like that. We're going to be talking about that next week. Possibly showing off my NASA troops that you see here next week. I should have them done 2 or 3 days. 3 days I should have them done. I might start a new I'm probably not going to do it. I'll probably start it next week. The poll on the YouTube channel, I've got a couple of polls still going right now. I think next week I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into those polls, because right now they're too general, too broad. I think I'm going to, what do they say? Dig deep, or drill down into those polls to get a little bit better understanding of what you're saying. Sci-fi fantasy and Napoleonics AWI. I'm going to take a look at those and break them down. Yeah, I might actually also start another faction about World War II bolt action. Those of you that play bolt action, which I assume is not everybody, but if you play bolt action, or if you play a skirmish 28mm World War II game, I was thinking about starting another poll asking what army you play. Like, are you playing 8th Army? Are you playing Blitzkrieg or Fallschirmjägers or American infantry? Are you playing American paratroopers? Are you playing Russians? Or are you playing Japanese or Marines or whatever, Commonwealth? Whatever you're playing. Now, I only have 5 choices that I can put on there, unless I do 2 polls, but I don't want to do that. I'm going to do 1 poll with 5 choices, and those will probably be the 5 major players. And then in a future poll, I might break those down as well. So those polls will be, I'm going to probably form those polls next week while we're on camera. And that's going to be, we're really going to be talking about rules, army lists. I'm going to try to figure out my SPQR Hail Caesar situation. It's still in flux. I'm really not sure what I'm doing with that. World War II, I'm going to break that down. And I'll probably also break down the Napoleonics, AWI, fantasy, sci-fi. I'm going to break those down as well. But that all the polls will start next week, so don't be looking for any new polls this week. That'll be next week, plus rules. And I should have all my orders in by then. This should be finished. I should probably be started or finished with those Russian paratroopers that I've been commissioned to paint. Just waiting for him to ship me the miniatures. He's shipping me miniatures. I'm going to paint them and ship them back to him for a fee. So if that's something you're interested in having done for you, you can contact me directly here on the channel, and we can work off of eBay. But if you contact me on eBay, I'm gonna sell it to you on eBay. I'm going to give eBay their fair share, because if we use that as our communication hub, then I feel obligated to give them a cut. Stone walls. Okay. Last thing before we end this evening, this morning, because I didn't really have a whole lot to go over this week. I was hoping these would be dry. Oh nope, that's still a little. Maybe that was just cold. It's still dry. Yeah, I think these guys are dry. I think I'm gonna be able to start painting on these guys immediately after we get off camera. But as you might know, I ordered a stone bridge. They sent me stone walls instead. Okay, this is kind of a mixed blessing, because I've been thinking about getting those stone walls anyway, because and I noticed that these stone walls are packaged for bolt action, right? They have bolt action figures hiding behind the walls, all that good stuff. I already have those walls, but I bought them from Italeri directly, and they were listed as 1/72nd scale walls when I bought them from Italeri. So my question is, is this the exact same kit, and they're just calling it 28 millimeter, 1/56 scale, or is it actually a larger mold? Like, did they actually take these stone walls and create a second mold in 1/56 scale? And I'm going to take the two walls and I'm going to compare them side by side. So that's probably going to be a video sometime this week. It's going to be a comparison of those two. I've been reluctant to buy them because I didn't want to buy stone walls for my 28 millimeter games if they're actually 1/72nd scale, because a 1/72nd scale wall honestly can still be used in a 28 millimeter game. It's just a shorter wall. It's just, instead of a 4-foot wall, then maybe it's just a 3-foot wall, And I'm afraid that's what it is. I'm afraid it's that 3-foot wall and not the 4-foot wall. So what we're going to do is we're going to compare them. And if they're the same, I'm going to call bullshit. I'm going to say this is bullshit. But if they're actually larger, then hey, then they're, sold as advertised. That would be awesome. Okay, so I told my dealer at Warlord, I said, hey man, I got these stone walls instead of this stone bridge like I ordered. I said, don't worry about it. It's the same price or whatever. So I'll just keep the stone walls and I'll just order another stone bridge when I place my next order. So don't sweat it, because I was going to order them eventually anyway. It's a little earlier than I wanted to, but that's okay. It's not really too much skin off my back. And you can always use walls. You got a 9-foot table. You can always use 60 inches of wall somewhere. So I don't know what I'm going to do with them. I'm probably going to use them when I assemble my Hougoumont, because there is actually a fairly sizable walled garden at Hougoumont. So maybe I can use it there. I don't know. They wouldn't be to scale because the walled garden at Hougoumont was like 10 foot tall. So I don't know. but it'll still look good. You don't need to look in there. Basically, I'm just taking this last 30 minutes and I'm just kind of just looking for, just looking around my hobby supplies, looking around, all my stuff just to see if I've missed anything, just to give you any hobby updates or anything like that. Victrix. Let's talk about Victrix just for a second. I'm disappointed with Victrix. I'm very disappointed with Victrix. It took me a year to get my last order. Well, maybe not a year. 8 months. It took me 8 months to get my last order. That's not terrible, right? That's not what I'm upset about. That's just icing on the cake. They have a wholesale website that you go to buy stuff. It's in pounds. And those pounds obviously get converted to dollars for me. And their shipping is like 25% of your order. It's pretty close. It's like on a 400-pound order, you're paying like 83 pounds in shipping. Approximately. I'm just going off memory. So I'm sitting there thinking, you know what? I'm gonna place an order. I'm gonna show good faith. It took 8 months for me to get an order, but that's okay. I'm gonna put another sizable order in, 400 pounds, which comes out to a crazy amount of dollars. I said, okay, like $600. I said, okay, I'm gonna put an order in. Everything's gonna be washed under the rug. And then they throw another 83 pounds on top of there, which is another $150 or something like that. It wound up being like $750 for this order that as a minimum, because they have a minimum order. I was like, there's no way. I can't do it. I can't order that as a minimum order. I said, okay, scratch that process. I'll just go to their website, and I noticed they had some sales. I said, okay, look at that. I can order some things on sale. They have no minimum order as a retailer, if I buy retail. So I was like, okay, great. I'll just get a couple of these sale items and we'll be good. Okay. So I order, I don't know, Romans or something like that. You get like 6 packs of Romans for the cost of 5. So basically a free pack of Romans. So I'm thinking, okay, that's pretty cool. I'm digging it. Okay, whatever. I'm not having to hit a minimum order. It's something like 100 pounds. I'm like, okay, no, I go with 100 pounds. But then they slap on like a 50-pound shipping. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's half my order. I said, okay, 150 pounds, is this worth it? Right? And I was thinking, okay, I'm getting 6 bags and, 20 pounds a bag. Yeah, okay, so it's not too terrible. I mean, it's like still retail pretty much. I was like, okay, I could do this. Maybe. I just won't make any profit. So what I'll have to do is I'll have to guarantee that I paint these and I sell them painted so that I can make some money on these. So I go to place this order. It was actually probably a couple of different sale items that I ordered. I go to the website. Everything's good. 150 pounds. Great. I go to pay through PayPal, I do believe. I was going to PayPal. Their billing system says 200 pounds. Canceled the order, got mad, left. I decided, okay, maybe, and then I thought, after the fact, I thought, okay, maybe it was something I did. Maybe I did something wrong. So I go back and I said, okay, let's check this out. 100 pounds, 50 pounds shipping, 200 pounds. This is wrong. Delete the order, not going back. Okay, so Victrix just basically pissed me off 2 ways till Sunday. I have some Victrix models for sale. Once they're all gone, I think I'll only order sporadically from Victrix. Victrix, this should have clued me in. I go to Little Big Men for some decals, some shield decals for my Warlord Romans or something, right? And they sell them on there. Warlord Romans, Gripping Beast, or any of these other Essex or any of these other manufacturers, they've got their flags. I looked on the Victrix website. They're selling Little Big Men decals for their units. Say they recommend them, like this is a recommended decal for this unit. Since I'm already putting in a Little Big Man order, I said, you know what? I'm just gonna throw on some Victrix decals for some of these Victrix Romans that I'm doing. I look. There are none. What the hell? Where are they at? I sent him an email. Where the hell are they? Can I get some Victrix Little Big Men? No. They have an agreement with Victrix that they will not sell directly their decals. You have to go through Victrix to get your Little Big Men decals. That should have been a clue on what kind of a business they are. So I didn't order them. Okay, so, there's that. Warlord Games treats me like I'm an important customer. My order can be small, it can be big. If it's big, like real big, they'll give me free shipping. That's cool. Victrix, their minimum is big, and if you order over that, you still have to pay shipping on top of it. Old Glory, 15 millimeter. Good company. They ship out pretty quickly. You get your stuff, you're good. Army Painter ships it out. You get it. It's good. Perry, I order it. A couple of days later, ships out. A couple of weeks later, you get it. It's good. Front Rank, you order it before the day's over. It's shipped. A couple of weeks later, you get it. It's good. Victrix, get your act together. I don't know. War Flag. I order through War Flag. A day or two later, it ships out. A couple of weeks later, you get it. GMB. Place the order. A couple of weeks later, ships out. 2 weeks later, you get it. It's good. Victrix. Get your act together. Sorry. I like Victrix models. I think they're good quality models. They're good priced. You get a lot of figures for the price you pay. So it's just everything else about Victrix that bothers me. Okay. Yeah, okay. I think that's pretty much it. That's where we're at. I had a lot of things to say today, but I didn't really have a lot to do. Next week, just as a final recap, we're going to close it right here. But as a final recap, I'm going to pull some rule books out. We're going to talk about fiddly rules. Hopefully, I'll have the Oathmark rules in by next week. I can kind of compare those to Warlords of Erewhon, SPQR. Those are all skirmish medievals, maybe not fantasy, but and then my SPQR versus Hail Caesar, how I'm going to do my armies. We're going to kind of try to figure that out as well. We can kind of work it out on camera, take a couple hours to do that. And then I'll put it, and then also next week I'll put in some polls. Those polls will be drilling down on some of the current polls just to get more detailed information to help me out with the store and what models I should be putting together and painting. And I think that's it. All right, guys. Thanks for coming out and watching this live stream. Unfortunately, we are cutting it off a little bit short, about 10 minutes. And I will see you next week at 11 a.m. Central.